So growing up, I lived really close to the ocean and I've always been very in touch with the marine environment. And it wasn't until my postgraduate studies that I got exposed to seaweed and the potential of seaweed aquaculture. And I was really lucky enough to work with some really inspiring research leaders in the field. And through that experiences that they showed me and that they taught me, I discovered the potential of this industry and also the diverse benefits that it can have. My name's Alisa Mihaila. I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at James Cook University, working on the development of sustainable seaweed aquaculture, primarily focusing on Asparagopsis. Some of the key challenges that we face in the seaweed aquaculture industry, particularly in Australia, is that it's an emerging industry. And when it's an emerging industry, there is a huge array of challenges in terms of legislation and policy. But one of the key barriers before that is that to support the legislative decisions and policies, we need to conduct a lot of fundamental research from a commercial perspective that's going to support and inform decision-making around seaweed aquaculture. The project that I'm working on is developing aquaculture techniques and cultivation methods for Asparagopsis taxiformis, which is a tropical red seaweed that when you feed to ruminant animals, it virtually eliminates the production of methane, which is one of the most potent greenhouse gases and problems for the agricultural industry. And so there's huge potential with Asparagopsis, but to make this viable at a commercial scale, we need to be able to produce mass amounts of it and develop the most effective ways to do that. And that's what I'm trying to do. At the moment, a lot of the aquaculture that's being conducted around Australia is just at a research scale, which is great because we need that, but the ultimate goal is to have that translating into a commercial scale where we're actually creating these products and having these environmental benefits at a large commercial scale, and that's what we're aiming to get towards. The key thing about seaweed aquaculture is that it is so diverse in its benefits and the impact it can have, not just for communities, but also for the environment, for the economy. And right now, Asparagopsis is the poster child for the industry, but there's a whole other range of species and potential industries that can be developed around seaweed, and everyone should be excited about it.
When I tell people I'm a marine biologist, their eyes light up. I can see the mental images forming, swimming with dolphins, tagging sharks, maybe even rescuing a turtle or two. Then I drop the seaweed bomb. The reaction? Priceless. Confusion, polite nods, maybe an, oh, that's interesting. And I get it. Seaweed doesn't have the same star power as dolphins and sharks. And let's be honest, when was the last time you actually thought about seaweed? Probably not often, right? So let me ask you this. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think seaweed? Sushi? That slimy, gross stuff on the beach? Or maybe Moana? Again, I get it. My younger self would have agreed. Back then, if seaweed so much as touched my leg when I was swimming, I'd immediately freak out and bolt from the water like it was a shark attack. I wanted nothing to do with it. But now, let me flip the script. What about instead of gross or slimy, we thought of words like sexy and solutions? Seaweed is positioned to become a booming industry in Australia within the next decade, and its impact is already being felt across the world. Right now, the global seaweed industry is worth billions. And you may not realize it, but seaweed is everywhere. Next time you're enjoying a bowl of ice cream or brushing your teeth, know there's a good chance that seaweed is involved. Yep, that velvety texture of your ice cream or that smooth and shiny toothpaste, all thanks to seaweed. Not so gross and slimy anymore now, is it? Most seaweed production currently happens in Asia, but other countries are catching on. In fact, seaweed is now the fastest growing component of food production worldwide. And here in Australia, we have the coastlines, the cutting edge expertise, and abundant resources to really lead the charge. The question isn't if we can make this happen. It's how. And if we figure out the how, It can mean huge economic, environmental, and social benefits for our nation. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The world is facing monumental challenges: climate change, food security, the urgent need for solutions to sustainable farming. Farming seaweed is more than a standalone industry. It's part of the solution to all of these challenges. And here's why. Seaweed is a natural carbon sponge. It absorbs vast amounts of CO2, helping to reduce greenhouse gases and combat climate change. By farming seaweed, we're also helping to reduce ocean acidification, a critical issue that's harming marine ecosystems. These organisms aren't just sitting there, they're actively working to heal the planet. Seaweed acts as a water cleaner. Through a process called bioremediation, it soaks up excess nutrients from polluted waters, nutrients that would otherwise be harmful to marine environments. And the best part is seaweed thrives on these nutrients, and we can then harvest that biomass to make all kinds of valuable products. It's a win-win. Cleaner water, healthier marine ecosystems, and it could be a real solution to agricultural runoff pollution. But seaweed isn't just good for the ocean. It's making waves here on land too. When added to livestock feed, seaweed can slash methane emissions, a greenhouse gas far more potent than CO2. Just imagine transforming one of agriculture's biggest challenges into a sustainable win for farmers and the planet. And if that wasn't enough, seaweed can also be a game changer for food production. As the global population grows, the demand for sustainable protein sources is rapidly increasing. Seaweed offers a high-quality, plant-based protein that requires no freshwater, no fertilizers, and no farmland. It's an ideal candidate for alternative protein development. It's a rare thing, right, to find a single resource that has the power to potentially reshape entire industries. But the impact of seaweed farming isn't just global. It's also deeply local. It has the power to revitalise rural communities right here in Australia. With our country's vast coastlines, a thriving Australian seaweed industry could help bring new life to remote areas, creating jobs, sustainable incomes, and strengthening local economies. And beyond that, it's a chance to bring people together. Farmers, local businesses, and researchers like me, working together to drive innovation and build a more sustainable future for all of us. Building a seaweed industry in Australia is by no means a small task. We need co-design, and this takes research, investment, and collaboration to turn ideas into action. My role is to help bridge this gap between research and reality, taking seaweed farming from lab experiments and pilot trials towards a thriving, commercially viable industry. And this means conducting applied and practical research. How can we grow enough seaweed to sustain an industry? How can we scale up production whilst maintaining environmental and economic sustainability? How can we ensure that this industry benefits everyone? Farmers, local communities, our planet. These are the kinds of questions I'm committed to solving. It's about laying a scientific foundation for a future-focused industry that can deliver real-world impact. So now when I tell people I work with seaweed, I'm not just explaining my job. I'm sharing a vision, and that is to harness the incredible properties of seaweed and help build a thriving industry here in Australia. Because Seaweed is so much more than that slimy, gross stuff on the beach. It deserves the same star power as dolphins and sharks, and it's already in our lives. So why aren't we growing it here? It's time to tap into the potential of a resource many of us overlook and transform it into a powerful tool for change. So I want to leave you with 2 questions. Firstly, is seaweed on your radar? Are you investing money into research on seaweed aquaculture? Are you engaging in discussions on how we can utilize this resource to make change? And secondly, what could a thriving Australian seaweed industry mean for you, your business, your industry, your community? And if you have no idea, but are starting to get excited about seaweed and want to be involved in this space, please come have a chat. Seaweed is already transforming industries around the world. Now, it's our turn to unlock its potential. So let's do it, one strand of seaweed at a time. Thank you.